Greetings. This is a prize. I just put a video up yesterday and here I am again today. I didn't mean to post today at all. As you could tell if you watched my video yesterday, it's a really busy time for me right now. And, but I wanted to, first of all, this is a good opportunity for me since I'm here and I'm addressing the tarot community, particularly in this video, um, that you have until Tuesday coming up in the next week. I'm going to be beginning my tarot classes again, 2 4-week sessions of tarot on here on Zoom, and there's still time to sign up if you're interested. I will leave a link below to the page on my website on burningthecrone.com where you can find out about the classes and also information how you can um, purchase a spot in the classes or get in touch with me for more information at my email address at goodwife@cox.net. Um, I'm going to be doing the syllabuses this week and sending them out to the people who have signed up. So I want to be sure that you have time to get that. So I'm going to need to know by this weekend who's going to be in the classes, and then of course we'll get the final count and see how many days a week we're going to be wanting to meet. So if you meant to do it and you didn't do it, this is a good chance for you to jump in and do it. Okay, enough business out of the way. I wanted to say today is an exciting day for me. I'm going to get to see my children on Zoom in just a few hours as it's my daughter's birthday. We're doing a Zoom visit. But also this morning, I went out for the first time in a long, long time up to Santa Ana to receive my second shot of the vaccine. And I'm really excited about that. That, of course, is very exciting. But I'm sitting in it was a drive-through, and the line was very long, waiting to go through. And I saw so many people. I haven't seen that many people in a year. I mean, this is amazing. I've only been on the freeway one other time in this year, and that was when I went to get my first shot 2 weeks ago. So it's amazing to go out there, and it wasn't there weren't that many people there when I was there the first time. Today was very, very full, which is really good to know. So many people are showing up for vaccines. But I started to think about it, for some reason, when I came home, it reminded me that I have a tarot deck here that I've had quite a while. It's an oracle deck, um, which I really don't use very often. I get real interested in it from time to time, and then I forget I have it because it's called. First, I'll tell you what it's called. Clear, the Wisdom Keepers. Um, it's how many cards are in here? 65 oracle cards in here, and they're just beautiful. The images on the cards is just beautiful, beautiful faces. Each face is very detailed. I think you're going to get a glare no matter how I hold them because they're very glossy cards, but they're just so. Each of these is a wisdom keeper, called a wisdom keeper, and don't want to spend a whole lot of time going through these, but you see each one has a keyword at the bottom. This one, number 6, represents diplomacy. And that's the end. Of course, we have, here's authority. Oops, there's authority. But you see there's very detailed, lots of symbols and in the faces. I can show you, if I change cameras, you can maybe see a little better detail on some of those, which I'll be happy to do. But these cards represent archetypes. They represent people. And I remember like the person, and as a matter of fact, the guidebook, that's what the guidebook is about. Rather than just a concept like we have in other oracle decks where we just want to say, or maybe we say, like remember I showed you the last oracle deck I shared with you was the Urban Crow Oracle. And, where we saw the crows acting in a certain way, whatever the keyword is. Like if we wanted to say community, or we wanted to say, revenge, or I don't know what it was. But there was the crows reacting in a certain way for towards a concept, towards an idea, towards something. This oracle deck, this comes with the guidebook, which is beautiful. The cards are again, um, they're 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 duplicated in just a black and white, small black and white. But because every one of these cards offers several things, it offers, first of all, it offers something about the wisdom story of the card. The wisdom story of the card, for instance, this is number 46, Delight. And if I look at 46, I will see that um, the gift offered by this card is delight, but the shadow of this card is seriousness, and the CD is ecstasy. And it describes these three concepts of, maybe I should have done that first. I don't really want to get in too much detail about the deck. The shadow, of course, we know the shadow, what it says in here about the shadow. When we are worried about our survival and fear is in the driver's seat, we find ourselves in shadow territory. Our shadows can be expressed in repressive or reactive ways. And of course, Carl Jung, who we've talked about before, I think on here, I talked about shadow work. A quote from here is, of his, is to confront a person with his shadow is to show him his own light. You cannot see that concept if you don't see your light until you see the shadow. So anyway, the gift offered by a card, again, that would be delight on this card. When we are more oriented towards serving others and honoring ourselves than protecting and defending ourselves, we more naturally share our gifts with others and feel a sense of belonging in the world. And then, of course, CD at the opposite end of this spectrum of consciousness talks about when we have entered a pure state of expansion and have completely surrendered our sense of separateness into the whole, we have entered the realm of CD. Okay. So in this card, um, it's hard. These books are new, and they just close up. If you take your hand off it for 1 second, it closes up. So anyway, the gift is delight. The shadow is seriousness. It says at the top, and CD is ecstasy. And each card, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the card, but each card has the wisdom story of this person represented here, this archetype of a person represented here. Okay. And there's just a little story told. For instance, it starts out, though my parents wanted us to be happy, they were unhappy people. My mother was a frigid woman, ashamed of her body and obsessed with its every ache and pain. Terrified of evil spirits, she constantly reprimanded me and my brother when our play became too free or spontaneous. My father was a hardworking man with a traumatic past. Afraid our wild instincts would lead to danger, he tried to control our every move. Okay, and it continues in the story how the brother reacted to these dynamics, and then as this person, this archetype matured, she came to understand that true happiness required more than physical beauty and outer achievements. So I prior towards the inner world embarked on a serious spiritual journey. I sat in silence, prayed, participated in countless ceremonies, but I still wasn't happy. I was afraid of life, sure I was doing it all wrong. Um, and nothing could ever work out for me. Okay. And then it says, one day I sat under a tree struggling to meditate. An old woman appeared. She took a good look at me, my sacred altar, and the somber expression on my face. Then, when I asked for permission, she grabbed my hand and pulled me into a clearing in the forest by the beach. I'll never forget how the sounds of laughter and in the distance, or the glorious sight upon our arrival of the most gleeful gathering of women I've ever seen. Every size, shape, age, all dressed in the most fantastic clothing. They moved around a giant fire, singing and dancing with total abandon. Before I knew it, they took off their clothes and jumped gleefully into the water. I was laughing so hard I forgot all about how I looked, or about anyone, or what anyone thought. I threw off my clothes and trolled my way into the ocean. The full moon night marked the beginning of my lucky life. I'm having a little trouble reading because my dog is putting his toy in the small of my back on the chair. I can't play right now. You go do it. You go do it. Sorry about that. Okay, so now my back is all soggy wet, soggy wet. Life with dogs. um. Anyway, the gift that is just give you an idea about this person represented in this card, in each card. Okay, and then it has the gift that this person offers me in this particular reading. I came to share an intimate truth. Nothing really matters but life and love. It's time for you to enjoy life's small pleasures, to relax in your own body, no matter how it looks. You can surf like an exciting wave, whether or not you understand what's happening. But to do this, you must first be willing to let go of the past, release all agendas, and keep your mind as open as your heart. Remember, the less seriously you take things, the easier it becomes to get out of your own way and allow life's delightful surprises to take you exactly where you need to go at exactly the right time. The magnificent and magical universe is at work in you all of the time. So that's the gift given by this card. Okay. And then it has questions for contemplations, and it just has things to think about. So if you would draw this card, you would think about, for example, do you seem more laid back on the surface than you feel inside? What are you taking? Where are you taking life too seriously? Do you tend to worry about your appearance? Okay. Do these worries keep you from enjoying life or taking risks? Have you ever experienced ecstasy? Was it wonderful or was it scary? And then it tells you maybe watch a funny, heartwarming movie, smile, pay attention to the little moments of delight and signs of synchronicity in your life, and write them down in your journal. It's just little points, little things to contemplate. You can see how helpful these cards might be in your everyday life as an oracle, okay? As an oracle card or something for contemplation. Pulling it out at certain points in your life, maybe like on birthdays or some kind of events. Today being a big event for me. I happen to think when I was in line to get my shot, sitting in my car, it was the exact moment 44 years ago that that child was born 3,000 miles away from here. And I said to my husband, you know, it's been 44 years since she was born, just about to the moment. Did you ever think 44 years ago in that tiny, tiny hospital in that tiny, tiny town on the other side of the country, 44 years later, we would be in a drive-through vaccine line for vaccinations for in a pandemic, a world pandemic. I mean, we never thought any of this was going to even happen. It's the most amazing thing where we get to in life. We never know where the journey is going to take us in life, do we? But anyway, I thought of these cards when I came back because I thought of all of these people. For some reason, they just came into my life, into my mind. You know, all of these different faces. Because at one time, I think when I first got the deck, you know how, in order to really understand it, you know, I'm a watcher of people because I'm an empath. And I thought, oh, you know, in order to really understand these phases in this deck, you know, because they're not like understanding the tarot cards, are they? It's a completely different thing. It's sort of a thing all on its own. It's not like other oracle decks that I know of. But who does this remind me of? Read about the characteristics of this archetype. Do I know a person that sort of shares this archetype? And it might help me. It just might help something in me because I'm very much a people watcher. I remember faces. I remember people. I read faces. Today I read a lot of faces, and I couldn't help but to wonder how different it is when you're reading faces this way. When I'm reading faces this way, what do I see? Actually, I was probably like this. Oops. This is what people say. So little is shown, isn't it? So little of us is shown. Here, we can see a lot in the face. It'll be so nice to go back and see. I really messed up my hair today. It'll be really nice to go back and be able to see the faces again. Soon. Soon we'll be able to do it. Okay, so anyway, I came home and I thought, I'm going to get this deck out today, give it another look. It might be something for me to contemplate for a while. Right now, all of a sudden, I'm gonna look out the book and understand a little bit more about what the deck's about. And I noticed in the back of the book, there were some, of course, some spreads. Every deck has spreads. And I'm thinking, oh, here's spreads. How are we going to use this as a spread? And I was really happy to see that some of these are kind of really pretty cool spreads. And in the future, I might even share some of the rest of them. But right now, today, something I thought about today, and I'm not going to take the time, I promise you, to go through this whole reading with you. I'm not going to do it. I just want to share the spread with you and how interesting this might be. And now that you can see how the cards work. Okay, so there was one spread in here which was so relevant, I thought. It's called Life Flower or Blossom, Blossom, which the words are to, first of all, the spread is meant to be holographic in the sense that each petal, I know you can see this. I know you can see it. Maybe you can. When I change the camera, I can show you. I'll show you when I change the camera, which I'm going to do in a minute because I wanted to show you the card close, a couple of my cards close up. But each petal, it's a center of a flower, which represents me or you, the person, the querent. Okay, the reflection. But before you can understand what that card is, around the outside of the center of the flower are petals, 7 petals, one for every letter in the word. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. Blossom. Okay, the B standing for the petal to support your body. Okay. L, the first L, of the only L, to reflect the love of friends, family, community. The first O, to illuminate your relationship to a significant other, to my spouse. The first S, to support my spirituality, to support the second S, my success. The second O, to reflect my relationship to ordinary aspects of life. M, to support my deeper mission. And then of course, U in the center of the flower, to reflect where you find yourself today and what kind of support you could use right now. The idea is each one of these flowers and each one of the petals on the flower helps determine the health of the whole flower. Okay, the flower is holographic in the sense that the health of each petal has a direct impact on the health of the whole flower. There you go. That's what it says. I find that really interesting. For instance, the petal that supports the health of my body influences all of me. My physical health influences all of me. It influences my relationships. It influences my spirituality, my ability to achieve success, the relationships I have to the ordinary everyday aspects. Do you see how that works? Which I thought was so interesting. I thought this was a really timely spread to use right now because we are just coming out of Imbolc and about approaching Ostara, which is coming up the next 10 days, something like that, or the equinox, right? Light and darkness equal. We've been in darkness, and now coming up, it's going to have equal light and dark at the equinox on Ostara, And after that, light, 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 increasing light every day. We're good. Spring is coming, right? Spring is coming. The dark, cold winter marks the end of the dark, cold winter, dark nights, whatever. So we're coming out of the shadow. For me, somebody like me, we're coming out of the shadow. Now, this one still, these cards still, well, this is what I was going to say. This is why I thought they were interesting because they do offer the shadow. What is the shadow of this archetype? And what is the CD of this archetype? And what is the gift offered from this archetype? Which is wonderful because, at Mabon, in the autumn, in Mabon, when beginning of autumn, um, that's when I go into looking in shadow work and really looking in. And I'm thinking at that time also, you know, my whole life is usually about balancing, getting into balance before I go into the shadow, getting into balance with, and usually it's like getting into balance with the elements, getting my feet, making sure my feet are firm on that ground, you know, and then my intuition is, I'm open for intuition. I'm open, I'm, and keeping my head open for new ideas, etc. Right? So I try to get everything in balance at that time of year. That's just a natural thing I do. This I thought was so good because where that's more of a physical balance, if you want to call it physical balance for me, this is more balance in my whole body. How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? How healthy is your flower? How healthy is your flower? We're talking about your physical health. We're talking about the health of your relationships. We're talking about your health, your relationship with a significant other, if you have one, your relationship with your spirituality, your relationship with your success, you know. Um, Also, reflecting the relationship with ordinary, everyday things in life. How are you doing? Are they throwing you, or you got a handle on it? Um, to support your deep. How are you at fulfilling your deep mission in life, whatever that might be? You see, I thought this was really exciting. So I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to go into big into it, but I will share in case you're interested. I know you are, and it'll give you a few. It'll give you a little bit of a peek into some more of these cards. I'm going to just show you the cards that I picked. I'm not going to tell you what they are really, but I'm going to give you a little bit of because I haven't really thoroughly understood them yet. But I want to just give a second here, and I'm going to turn the camera so you can see the cards that I pulled for me. Oh, I closed the book. Shouldn't do that because I have to see what card was what. Okay, here we go. I'm going to change the camera. Okay, I have my cards here, so maybe you can get a good look at some of these. I'm just going to show you what I got for each one in case you're interested. Maybe I'll go over one of them with you. Here, the first one, look how beautiful they are. They're just glorious. The only thing, my objection is, you see, of course, how big the cards are. Here's my hand in relation to my hand, and they're just impossible for me. They're so hard to shuffle. I find myself having to divide the deck and then just do, corners in order to get them to shuffle. And of course, they're very glossy, so they're slippery. They fall out really easily. But anyway, they're gorgeous. The artwork is just beautiful on them. And this is number 60 is what I got for my body, my physical health, and this is realism, which that's kind of funny. I don't think I need to go into that too much, but um, I could just maybe give you an idea so you get where I'm going. Okay, this is the card that I pulled for the B, which is about my physical body, my physical health, my body, and it talks about of course the keyword is realism. The gift, that's the gift. The shadow is limitation, and the CD is justice. Um, and in here, well, I'm going to laugh. I'm not going to go into it right now because like I said, I promise I'm not going to read the whole meaning. But the gift is about the love of realism and common sense. Stay connected. It talks about staying connected to your ideals and visions without losing signs of practical aspects. Okay. So I have to see, what are the limitations? What are physically my limitations? and be realistic about it without letting go of my ideas and my dreams and things like that. So I found that kind of interesting. The next one, the L, having to do with relationships, my love of my friends or my family or my community, is synergy, which I thought was really cool. And it does tell a little story in here about uh, somebody growing up in a family where the father was very much in control and a business owner, and very, there was no room for friendships or anything. Business, it was business, and pleasure was pleasure, completely separate. Friends or business associates could not be the same people. And so this person talks about when the father passed on, she was surprised to see that she inherited the business, and because she really didn't see things the same way he did, and it ended up that she ended up hiring a lot of friends and relatives and things to be in the business, and she just changed the way the whole business was operating, and it started to fail, of course, but then after a while it started to succeed really big. It started to really take off and be bigger than it had ever been before. So the gift here often by this card is um, to be willing to take a leap of faith, to let go of your fears, to no matter who you are in the business world or where in your family or whatever, look for ways that you might be afraid to abandon some of the rules that can control your life, and reach outside the box, do things a little differently, which I found really interesting. That's really timely card to come up in my reading, because I've had some of this experience with friends lately. That friends are trying to having to rethink. Of course, many of us are right now, isn't that correct? Having to rethink the way we did old relationships. First of all, we've been doing things virtually for how long? But secondly, you know, um, can we really go back to things exactly the way they were? Things are going to change and things are going to shift. So that was interesting. Okay, the third card has to do with my relationship with my significant other. And this was just the fantastic thing for me to pull, because look what I pulled. And yes, you're seeing that right. You're seeing that correct. it's the it's the mirror. It's the mirror. it's the mirror. I don't even know how to get my face in the mirror. I can't really. There. it's me in the mirror. It's me in the mirror. So, um, my husband and I see each other in the other self, and I find that really interesting, because I had written in my journal not too long ago. I have a little quote that I picked up, if I can find it. And I was just reading it. Exactly. I was just reading it. Let me pull my journal back here for you to see. I was just reading it like yesterday morning, actually. Um, Little quote that I have in my journal. That when time to time, when I have to be reminded of something, I I will stick it in my journal. I used to stick things in my journal just because. Here we go. I used to stick it in my journal just because I wanted to. I don't want to just. Oh, I don't want to start. I don't want to show all myself in my journal. But anyway, you see, I just put this down there. Namaste. And it says, I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place in you which is of love, of truth, of light, and of peace. When you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, we are one. And then I put in beside it, God dwells within me as me. God dwells within you as you. And that's very much the relationship that I have with my husband. Um, as a matter of fact, I have that relationship with other people. That's how I'm starting. Um, that's how I see other people. Um, Um, we sing in our, when we meet with our coven, we sing healing songs. We offer up healing prayers all the time and we sing, I'm a circle, I am healing you. You are a circle, you are healing me. Then we say, unite us, be as one. Unite us, be as one. And so this mirror was really appropriate. I thought that was really nice. Okay, the next card that I got in my draw was number 10, Naturalist, for S, for my spirituality is not as being as naturalist, naturalness. Whoops. And the shadow of that is self-obsessiveness or self-obsession, and the CD is the being, is just being. And it's about discovering who you are. It's about that spirituality of discovering who you are. And that's, boy, if you ever go back to my very, very, very beginning of this channel, I talked about that, my journey, my one path journey that has taken me now 60, the years I can't even remember, but I could think of many years to get to where I am today. It's one path. It's a discovery. It's a path of discovery. And so that was cool. I would like to read more about that. The success having to do with idealism, kind of funny for me. The CD being the light, the shadow being obscurity, not knowing. And the gift to you is reminding me of the incredible power and potential that I have of my receptive, abundant, feminine, magical, tribal, dreaming mind. She says, I come to give you permission to play with your right brain, with the realms of imagery, archetype, and imagination. Trust that everything in the end is a symbol. I'm finding this is sort of a natural thing for me, which is funny, as this was naturalness. It's kind of a natural thing for me to be. The more, I told you before many times, the more creative I become, the more I feel healed, the more whole I feel, the more I feel like I can handle whatever life is giving me. So that was kind of interesting. I have this lightness here for the O card, which is about the final O, to reflect my relationship with just the ordinary. And I thought, lightness, just the ordinary things, which my first impression is that, going with the flow. And the shadow of that is desire. And the gift that I thought this was interesting, I'll hold that card up because that's kind of interesting. That looks a little bit like Robin Williams to me. I don't know if he does to you. Very blue eyes. Look at those eyes. The color in these cards is amazing. My gift to you, I have good and bad news. The bad, you are not in control of your destiny. You're never going to get rid of your desire. The good, accepting this bad news will free you to trust in life. So I thought that was really, and then of course it explains it. It talks about life as being a comedy and a tragedy all at once. You might as well enjoy the ride. Keep a sense of humor. Do not pretend to live lightly. Embrace and emanate a true lightness of being. It's funny how they say it's a comedy and a tragedy. I feel that very much in my life. I used to, when I was a young person, my favorite song was by the Bee Gees. I started a joke, which started the whole world crying. I kind of thought that was my destiny. I don't know. Numbers, this card 63, this inquiry card is what I received for M. M being my deep mission. What is my deep mission in life? 63. The gift to you. I come to celebrate your love of inquiry. This face looks really familiar to me too. I'm not sure who. but also to remind you that your inquisitive mind and gift for doubting are best used in service of the world, not in service of beating yourself up. Boy, boy, is that a good one. See if you can remain genuinely curious about life without insisting on finding answers. Oh my, that's really good advice. It keeps on. There's a lot more. It says a lot more, but again, I don't want to take up time. This could be a 2-day video if I wanted it to be. Because remember, each one of these cards is really created to inspire quite a bit of contemplation. So this is not something that I will want to just read today. It is something I will contemplate probably perhaps through the entire Sabbath of Ostara. That might be really nice to put one of these cards on my altar and just contemplate what this brings to each category of my life. So that's another cool reason to share this spread with you. I thought it was. Intuition, of course, finally, intuition is the card that represents me. This is the card that reflects where I find myself today, what kind of support I could use most right now. And this is intuition, which I find sort of was interested at first to see that because I'm a very intuitive person. But it says, I come to remind you that of that still voice within that connects you to all of life. Your intuition is one of your greatest gifts. Trust it. We live in a world that is obsessed with reason. There is so much emphasis on exploring and conquering the mind, but you have the ability to experience true knowing. Okay. Stop relying on, it continues, it says, stop relying on theories and methods. I'm not suggesting you discard your intellect or your um, tools, only that you allow them to serve your intuition. But anyway, it's a lot of contemplation. I can say I'm going to be doing a lot of contemplation over the course of this Sabbath. Okay, I don't know if that was interesting to you or not. I'm very interested. And again, the deck is called the Wisdom, uh, the Wisdom Keepers, and beautiful, beautiful set of 65 beautiful cards. The deck was pretty expensive when I bought it, so I don't know what the price is or even if it's available. I apologize if I bought you a deck that you can't receive. But these ideas are do not only these ideas are not uh, while the idea about doing these contemplations and things, examining with this blossom spread, it's really um, it's really authored for this particular deck. This is a good way for me to say to you, a lot of you probably are in possession of some Oracle decks, and some maybe Oracle decks that you don't really use very often. If that's the case, I would suggest to you, I would recommend that if there's a booklet of any kind that came with the deck, there often is something to look in the back. Just look in the back and see, are there any unique spreads in the back that are specific to the deck you have? Because I don't know of an Oracle deck that doesn't at least pretend that it is good to use for spreads. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Yeah, excuse me. Most of them, most of them, as a matter of fact, believe that they're, and the author believes that they're good for reading using a spread. I've never been really convinced of that in the past, but I can see in certain cases that it can be good. But again, this is not something, this kind of a spread, I would never pull for today's reading. What's my reading today? I would never use something like this. This kind of a reading I would do to contemplate a larger period. And that's when I like, and cards like this that are beautifully illustrated are wonderful kind of cards, whether it's this deck or some other deck, to keep on your altar, to just refer to from time to time to see, to give you some kind of meditation point or something like that, something to consider. So anyway, I hope this was interesting or helpful. I don't know if it was. Again, if you want to get into the tarot class, this is your chance. Follow the link below and read about it and get in touch with me right away because I'm getting those syllabuses done this weekend. And again, if this is in the future and you're interested in tarot classes from me, get in touch with me because I offer them, you know, periodically. Try to do it somewhat regularly. I'm hoping to. Um, and I'll be sure you're on a list to get information the next time that they're offered if we miss this time. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and stay healthy, and thanks, and I send you blessings.